Christmases, and I'm an only child, so that was kind of a big leap from me to his family, and oh my gosh, the first Christmas I had such a headache because there was grandkids already, and oh my gosh, it's like this is crazy. Crazy.
So with Sacred Heart, I don't remember how many years ago it was now, they were really involved with trying to do the buy local thing, and I was actually involved with that Wisconsin grass-fed beef council, but I can't remember the gentleman that worked for the hospital, that they were trying to bring local meat into the cafeteria and stuff for a while.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that.
I can't remember his name.
Was it John Folstead?
What?
John Folstead?
That don't sound.
Okay, I'm trying to think of
He was a shorter guy, and he traveled around and actually spoke about that, because I don't know if there was a little bit of government grant money that maybe helped get something like that started, but then that little co-op folded up. It was just, it just wasn't organized quite. Yeah. It was a great thought, but it was, you had chicken farmers, you had beef farmers, you had bison farmers, and there's different dynamics with all that to make it work. And you're also trying to meet small portions for like in hospitals, you got, it's just like schools, you got to worry about calorie counts and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of,
tons of
the chicken, you have to have a really small chicken. Well, for a small guy to harvest a 2.5 pound bird, it's not profitable enough.
No, I'm sure it's not.
They need to raise them bigger.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of dynamics to
I'm
make
trying to
it
think,
work.
because I knew a lot of the older administration folks back when I was working as an administrator for Marshall Clinic, because we had a much different working relationship than they do now. And a lot of the executives that I worked with are also no longer there, either retired or moved on to different opportunities. So this John Wagner, who is the CEO and president of St. Joe's over here, he's pretty new. He's on our board here too. And I think, I want to say John has been with us a little over a year maybe, because it seems like I did a presentation at the hospital with some folks a year ago, January, and he was pretty shiny new then. So
who is John Blake?
John who?
John Lake.
John who?
Lake?
John.
He might be a hospital. I don't recognize that name.
Okay, because he just joined the Zoom meeting, so that's why I'm asking.
Just make sure everybody's muted.
Oh, okay.
Because then they'll take over in the thing.
He just put his video on.
Yeah, that's okay. It's Zoom.
Okay, cool.
You might get 20, 30 people on there.
See
cool.
Wonderful little faces.
Yeah, I'm so new to this, so I'm just like.
Or you have some people that'll point it to the wall.
Yeah.
But they're there.
Yeah. Depending on if they did their hair or not, or
brush
their teeth or not, or
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm from La Crosse, Wisconsin. So.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said I'm from La Crosse, Wisconsin, and I did some work with the CCEDC a number of years ago, and I'm working to come back.
That's awesome.
My wife is also from Cadott, so this intrigued me.
He said his wife's from Cadott, so this intrigues him a little bit. Because they've been listening in on what you guys have been talking about, because that's relevant.
I haven't, well, yeah, but
I don't. Who's your wife?
Donna. Her maiden name was Donna Rayborn. She was a daughter of Dan Rayborn.
I know Donna.
Okay.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious. I know
Your name is?
This is Lisa. I'm going to be the moderator of this conversation today.
How would she know you?
Through Cadott High School.
What's your maiden name?
My maiden name is Nysty, N-Y-Y-S-T-I. Lisa.
Let me see if I can raise her. She's upstairs. Hang on a second.
dear, we're gonna have all people, but we're not.
Okay, so we got 7 minutes.
And we could get people from everywhere because Charlie just had me put the link on Facebook and everything,
I'm
so.
sure we did. Well, you know, that's good. That's good for you though. We want you to be thriving.
Yeah, and I mean T-minus 7 minutes until we're on Facebook Live. Because it's not live yet, but I already started the Zoom just to make sure that everything was going
You'll
smoothly.
have to let me know though when I'm supposed to start.
Lisa,
I will.
Yes.
this is my wife, Donna. I don't know if you can see the monitor at all, but,
I'm coming over to you.
oh, okay,
You're in front of a video camera.
okay.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Oh, I'm supposed to know you, but I can't remember you.
That's okay. Did you had a sister, Nancy?
I have a sister, Nancy.
So Nancy graduated with me from high school.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just talked to her this morning.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Good.
So I will tell her I talked to Lisa Misty. It's kind of in the back of my memory, but
Well, Donna, what year did you graduate?
74.
Okay, so you were just 2 years ahead of us then.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right. That's probably, I didn't know all my upperclassmen,
Okay.
like my own and
I
younger.
can mention that to her.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And we're glad you're joining us today.
Well, yes.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's from Chippewa Falls.
Yeah, this is Chippewa Falls and this guy's from Cadott.
Oh, God.
So-
Yay.
It's Crescent Meats, is that what I heard?
Yes, Crescent Meats.
Okay.
I've heard of that
Very good.
too.
All right, very good. Yeah, we're the Rayborns live out by Yellowstone Creamery, so
Oh, yeah.
small world, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, very cool.
Do you pronounce your last name Lautsbaugh? Is that?
Yeah, that's about as good as you're gonna get.
Oh, well, I can try to do it better.
I say Lautsbaugh, but
Okay,
it-
that's all right.
just I have a more southern accent. At least they say I do.
Yes, you do. And
Yes,
you know,
you
when-
do.
When I go down south, they tell me I have an accent.
Yeah.
That's because we.
Oh,
That's what I
no,
thought.
I
I thought
don't.
everybody out here talked weird.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was me.
Yeah, people up here say I sound kind of weird because I've lived all over the place. I'm a military brat.
oh, sure.
So California, Maine, Maryland, Virginia.
You just don't know who you are.
No, not really. Not really.
You are diverse.
Yes.
That's what you are.
I've had a flat accent for a very long time.
Oh,
But I've heard when I'm down south, people say I sound like I'm from Wisconsin, and then when I'm up here, people say that I'm from the East Coast.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I just never know, you know.
As long as you keep pronouncing your R's, you know you're not from New Jersey.
Right? Yeah. No.
Or New York.
I ain't from the Jersey.
Not
I
from
don't
New
do
York.
I don't say dirty laundry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Wayne. My name's Danielle. Everybody, I'm behind the camera. My name's Danielle. I'm marketing graphics for CCDC. I'm the newest member of the team. So nice to meet you guys.
You too.
But yeah, I'm a graphic designer by trade, learning marketing. We'll see how that goes. And then most of what I do here is the technical stuff so far. Do a lot of digital marketing. But yeah, let's see. We have 2 minutes.
Okay. Turn more toward me.
But yeah, so you say Lautsbaugh?
Yep.
Yeah. My last name is Bauer, so I thought it was Lautsbaugh, like German.
It is definitely German.
Oh, it is German? Okay, so it would be Lautsbaugh.
Yeah, she's not related to Klaus.
No.
No, I'm not related
Have you
to
met
any of.
Klaus?
Nope.
No, I told her she would love just
You
listening
would
to
love
him
Klaus.
talk.
Yeah, he'd probably be like, "Oh, your last name's Bawa. Ich speaking or no,
Yeah.
to speak in Deutsch," and I'd be like, "No, cannot." The customs officer, when I traveled to Germany, asked me the same thing. He saw my last name on my passport and asked me if I could speak German, and I was like, "Nope, I'm American. Sorry."
Oh, dear.
But yeah, because Bawa is one of those names that everybody knows it's German. So
Well, I always say Bauer.
Bauer, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not related to any Bauers out here.
Yeah. And my name is Finnish, Nisti.
Yeah.
It's actually pronounced Nusti.
Nusti.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that.
My name's German.
Yeah, Schult. Schult. A lot of us are Germans out here, I take it.
I think so. Germans, Norwegians,
Yeah.
Polish.
Danish, Swedish,
Yeah.
I'm a Heinz 57,
English, Irish.
but both names are German.
Yeah. Okay. And you're going live. I haven't gotten the count. All right.
Welcome to the Business Expansion and Retention Program. My name is Lisa Bruhn. I am past CCEDC Chair and also on the board for Chippewa County Economic Development Corporation. Today we are talking with Wayne Lautsbaugh from Crescent Meats from Cadott, Wisconsin. Just a housekeeping mention to you today, if you would please make sure your mics are shut down or shut off. At the end of the session, we will have a Q&A session so that you can also answer your questions. If you're on Zoom, chat is also available, so please go ahead and pop those questions into your chat box and we will get to them towards the end of the program. So I want to say thank you again to Wayne today for coming in and visiting with us and telling us more about Crescent Meats. So let's get started by, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and where you come from,
Okay.
all those things.
All right. Well, I am Wayne Lautsbaugh. I grew up in South Central Pennsylvania and married to wonderful wife, Stacy, for 32 years. We just had an anniversary last week.
Oh, congratulations.
And we have 2 children, Vance and Samantha. And we both worked in corporate world. I worked construction, supervision for 17 years. And Stacy worked in insurance industry. So growing up, starting a family, wanting to do more hands-on business at our own property. So started with meat cutting on the farm, and I'm really nervous here. Sorry about this.
That's okay. That's all right.
Don't do this type of stuff much.
No, you're doing fine.
We had the opportunity, apologize, very nervous.
You had the opportunity to purchase Crescent Meats then? Or when did you start cutting meat?
Started cutting as a child.
Oh, okay.
We had a small farmette.
Okay.
And I remember my father getting in trouble with my mother that she left me skip school
Oh.
to harvest animals on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that type of stuff with my grandfather. They were there and we did neighborhood butchering with all the family farms would get together to butcher pigs and beef on the farm. So it just became a hobby, so to speak.
Okay.
And just turned into a thing that I loved. I mean, I was always hunting and fishing, and
Sure.
we processed all of our own deer meat. And then in '96 is when we actually built a small little plant at our house, and it just took off from there and just grew to the point that working construction and traveling, done a lot of traveling to bigger jobs, and then just I wanted to do the meat more than I wanted to do the construction. It felt more fulfilled doing that type of stuff and feeling you're doing a better service for the people that raise the animals and things like that. So it just became a dream of mine to do it full time.
Well, that's wonderful. So just because I'm a mom, I have to know if your mom was a little bit upset that you skipped school. How old were you when you started?
I was in elementary school. I don't remember, but I didn't even hold a knife or anything. You know, I just watched and did anything I could do to help them. Just wanted to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Well, now I can understand why your mom was a little bit, hesitant about all of that. I'm sure they're very proud that you are doing what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So that was back in Pennsylvania that
Yeah.
you started that. And so how did you get here? How did you get to Chippewa County? How did you get to Wisconsin?
Okay. Well, like I say, the business on our property kept growing and growing to the point that being in South Central Pennsylvania, we had people coming from Maryland and Virginia and New York, actually, to get sausage products made also just out of their venison. And it was a desire that we started looking at buying another business because we couldn't grow anymore at our house. We couldn't build a bigger facility. So we started looking again all over. Actually, I was in New York and Vermont. I looked at a plant in Vermont. Some of the small little plants, I mean, I never really visioned myself as being a huge plant. I mean, it was just something that I could raise my family and support my family and do what we enjoyed to do. And the small plants that we could afford were maybe built out of a shed on their farm. And then as the farm evolved, it was 30-year-old business, and the farm sold, and then they subdivided this little meat plant off of the farm, and very rural, no opportunity to grow whatsoever, sort of similar to what we already had. You know, it's those types of buildings we could afford, but it just wasn't big enough to support the families. So the ones that we liked were overbuilt that we couldn't afford it. We had no investors. We didn't have a great business plan or anything like that, or financial ability to go buy $1 million meat plant, you know. So my wife's sister, Lisa, actually lived in Thorpe. They moved to Thorpe. They were truck drivers, and they could move from Pennsylvania, and his family was from Thorpe. So they found the plant that we now own that was up for sale, and we flew out here on Memorial Day of 2003 to look at the plant, decided to put an offer in on it, and ended up moving in July of that same year. We had no idea we were going to make that move. It just happened that quickly.
Sure. And so what was the attractiveness then about the particular plant?
Yep. So we wanted to live in the country because we were very rural where we were, but yet the access was easy because it was on Highway 27, which is a great portal to the north. You know, we saw a lot of customers coming from Chicago or southern states that come up 27 to vacation in the summertime. So we thought it was a great opportunity, even though we were in the country, is where we wanted to be. But the building was built professionally. It was built as a meat plant. It was old, but it was well constructed. And it was cheaper. I admit that the price of where we could get into a startup business with not a lot of experience professionally, it was very appealing. So we took the plunge in 2003.
Well, fantastic. So can you give us a little history about Crescent Meats?
Yep. Again, that was a farm. The family farm was a Petterlicks, and the one son went to meat cutting school in the early 60s. The plant was built in 1965. He ran it, I'm not sure what year he quit running it. He had some health problems and decided to lease it to some employees, and then it changed leases a couple different times. And in the late 90s, that type of business was struggling to survive, and many of the other ones that we looked at, even on the East Coast, were already closed up also. So you were either successful and it stayed in the family, so to speak. It was very difficult for someone new to get into it. It's almost like farming. It's hard for a new family to start farming.
Sure.
So it was somewhat the same challenges. And he actually, the owner, even though he was semi-retired, he helped me get started. We purchased the place. We remodeled it. When we moved here in July, it was October until we actually got the plant up and running, because it needed a lot of work. We were state inspected at the time. We are now federally inspected. So from 2003, I think it was 2008, we put an addition on. We were 4,000 square feet when we purchased it. Then we were up to, I think, 11,000 square feet in 2008. We added on, made some major changes to the harvesting floor and processing, bigger freezers, coolers, so that we could harvest more animals. At that time is when my children were grown then, and my son went to River Falls for food science, graduated from there. And then my daughter graduated from school and went to Chippewa Tech for business management. And they both came back into the business. And that's when we decided to grow more to be able to support more families.
Oh, that's very cool. So it really is a family business.
It's definitely
So
a family business.
Everybody involved, and you have your business aspect and your food science aspect. And, how does that make, like, I don't know anything about what the qualifications are to even have a meat plant open and be doing what you're doing. What is that like? I mean, what are the regulations like, and what are you expected to follow?
Yeah, regulations are very challenging. There is a lot that goes into making safe product for consumers, high quality products for consumers. We have to document every single thing of the aspect. We check temperatures of coolers several times a day. We have to document and log everything we do. We wash between species. Like if you do pork and then do beef, you have to wash, clean, sanitize every single piece of equipment. Even on the harvesting floor, if you go from beef to pigs, you wash in between. Everything is total separation. And what makes it difficult is because we're diversified, we do many different species, where big plants, they're efficient because they only do pigs or they only do beef. So we have the same regulation, but have several species.
Sure. So operationally, how do you manage that? I mean, because you do this variety of species, do you have like a day that you do pork and a day that you do beef, or
No.
How do you manage that?
It's difficult, but with our business growing in 2008, we have much larger coolers that we can do good separation in the coolers. Some animals hang longer for aging time versus the others. We typically only harvest one day a week.
Oh.
Just because the size of business we are, what we can slaughter in one day, it takes us 4 days to cut. When we really started growing, which with the pandemic has changed many things. It totally changed our scheduling, atmosphere, everything. We were very fortunate style business that the pandemic actually helped our business. The drive for local food, because of the news broadcast, there was empty shelves in the grocery stores. We flourished. We had to put more people on. We had to reschedule the way we do things and realign everything to become more efficient. We changed equipment, got bigger equipment, better equipment, that we could harvest and do more poundage per week to try to keep up with demand. So even though I make that sound like, oh, we got bigger equipment, we're still very, very small. We only harvest approximately 2,000 animals a year. In the state of Wisconsin, there's 20,000 beef a week harvested in the state of Wisconsin alone. So if you take that example, we cannot help on a large scale satisfy if a big meat plant shuts down like they did from the pandemic. We did everything we could, but there was no way we could fill that void.
Sure, sure. So what is like an average, what's your capacity for per week then? Okay.
We typically do between 50 and 80 animals a week, depending on how big they are. If we were doing all large animals like beef, 50 a week is pretty much our comfortable zone, you know, that we can effectively get them done. And then if we have, 40 pigs, we do less beef. So it's usually a mixture of many different species. We actually also are inspected for voluntary slaughter, which is exotic animals like bison, elk, and venison, farm-raised venison. They're not from out in the wild. They're raised behind a fence, and we can harvest those animals too, which not everybody does that.
Sure, sure. How did you get involved in that?
Like I say, when I was young, involved with hunting, it was always the desire. And when we moved to Wisconsin, got to know many exotic farmers in the area. North of, I think it was Blue Hills, met some bison producers when we first moved here, and they're no longer in business anymore, but just always loved exotic. That was a niche market. When we opened, we found out that just harvesting for the local farmers is very seasonal. So the winter you thrive, in the fall you thrive, in the summer you starve because there's not a lot of harvesting.
Sure.
And we had a retail and assumed it was a great fit, that we have retail that would be flourishing in the summer, but in the country, we didn't have the foot traffic that you would downtown in Chippewa or Eau Claire or something like that. So it was a struggle opening our business to keep year-round consistent work. So we definitely changed our plans over the years. We started doing more exotic animals that we could harvest year-round and create a niche that other people weren't doing.
Sure.
And that became very, very successful for us.
It sounds like it. Was I going to ask you about what the original plan was? It sounds like it was more domestic animals, and then you changed and brought in something new and different. So that's wonderful. How far do you think, what's your furthest request come from? North of the Blue Hills, or
we do animals, the exotics. We have some large customers from even South Dakota that bring large trailer loads of bison in. We just started with him last year, and he's a farmer for 3 generations of bison ranching out there, and just started last year getting into his own meat product. So we actually harvest for him. And we do a lot of stuff for people that sell on websites. I have one gentleman in Washington State that sells off of websites, and it's all just strictly bison and elk products and venison products. I have a sausage customer from South Carolina that I make a private label sausage for. So we don't just do local meat, but we specialize in quality sausage products or unique products that are niches.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, that's really fascinating. Wow. Just to think that it's coming from, you know, literally all over the United States.
Right.
So when meat gets transferred from South Dakota, for instance, to Wisconsin, is there certain requirements or dynamics that happen when it goes from one state to the other? Do you have to follow Wisconsin guidelines? Do you have to follow guidelines from South Dakota? How does that work?
Yeah. So when we started in 2003, we were state inspected. We could only process animals that would sold in the state of Wisconsin. They could not cross the state line. So in 2008, when we really grew to the next level, that's when we became federally inspected so that we can go across state lines. And people could bring us animals from other states, but they could not market it back to their own state when we were state inspected.
Oh, okay.
So they would have to keep it for their own use.
Okay. So it had really everything to do with federal inspection versus state inspection, and
Correct.
that's what made it flow easier and make it easier for you to do things more across nationally.
Right. The opportunity is much better for us with the federal inspection.
Okay.
State inspection was very great service. I mean, they've done just as good a service as federal inspection.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason that we changed is the ability to do things outside of our state.
Sure, sure. So that takes me into since we're going national, what about international? Do you do any exporting of your products?
Not at this time.
Are you thinking about it?
We have researched into it, but it just seems domestically we can probably get more business than what we could handle anyhow, so I don't see the need to go internationally.
Okay.
Who knows where the business will ever go. With my children involved, we are actually planning another expansion just to keep up with the demand of everything. And not saying it won't ever happen, but at this time, there's a lot of meat that could be sold in the United States.
Oh, okay. All right. So is there kind of a 5-year plan from what you're doing now to where you want to be in 2026?
Yeah, we actually have drawings to double the size of our plant right now. We sort of put it on hold though because of the pandemic. We were starting to plan it when that happened. Then we're like, oh, we definitely need this because we're so super busy. It is starting to level off now. I mean, we're still having our best year ever. Our first quarter was the best year we ever had. But it's still a challenge if you double the size of your plant, that if you don't have signed contracts in place, you could struggle financially. And we found that out the first time we added on. It was great. It gave us opportunity to grow, but it was also a cash flow situation.
Sure.
Without other investors involved.
Oh, sure.
And we've done everything on our own so far.
So far. Okay. Yep. All right, great. Well, and you talked about the pandemic. It sounds like, for so many of the businesses that we've spoken to, the challenges of keeping your head above water and the different things they needed to do in order to change the way they did business to stay alive, was significant. And probably learned a lot during that period of time of things that they can continue to apply into the future. Was there anything from the pandemic that you learned that you think, okay, well, geez, she changed this and this worked really well, so we're just gonna go ahead and.
It forced it to be better at what we do for sure, and finding a way to process more and be able to satisfy more customers we do a lot with private labeling for farmers that sell their own product and on their own website or off their own home store, on their farm store. And we felt a need that we had to help those, because the amount of shops that are in Wisconsin is tremendous compared to other states. Wisconsin, with small businesses like mine, it's probably one of the largest states in the nation with the amount of plants that we have. And the desire for people to buy local meat grew, and we felt obligated and transformed our business instantly to satisfy their needs. And I think we did a good job of making that happier. You know, they were very happy that we could accommodate their growth.
Sure. But it sounds like you were very fluid in those decisions, and being fluid in today's business world with everything that changes so rapidly is so terribly important that you can do that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Seemed to work out really well for you. How many employees does it take to run this processing plant of yours?
Well, right now, my family of 4, we have 20 other employees. Okay. It's a very hard job, very physical job, very mentally demanding job. In processing animals, everyone gets the opportunity to give their cutting instructions for every quarter of beef that's sold. Everyone gets cut differently. So it's not just repetitious, the same thing every day. Every single animal we harvest gets cut, custom cut to the way the customer wants it. I mean, we do our own animals also, that is pretty traditional cutting of all of those, but we try to satisfy the needs of the way the customer that's buying the beef from another farmer, they get it the way they want it, not the way I want it.
Sure. So is there special training then for learning how to do the custom cuts versus kind of the standard cutting? Where do you go to get that training or that skill?
We have a few employees that were already trained. They worked in other small meat plants, or a couple from like Abbey Landover and Curtis. Sure. Very thankful to find the meat cutters, because it's such it's just not everywhere. Like the big meat plants, there's only 4 or 5 huge plants that feeds the country, and none of those are real close to us. So we do most in-house training with new employees. We have very dedicated employees. They're not coming to work just for a paycheck at Crescent Meats. They come because they believe in what we believe in and what we're doing for our customers, and they're there because they want to be a part of that. We cannot compete in the benefits and stuff that the bigger mega companies can do, and we try hard every year. We done very well last year. We added health insurance for the first time last year. We just started this year in 2021, where we're doing like a 401k, a simple IRA for our employees. We give them paid vacations, paid holidays, but it's still very hard work. And today's workforce, that everyone's looking for employees, so it's very difficult. We want to keep our employees, and we put a lot of time into training, and very loyal employees. Very pleased with where we are. We could always do better, but sure, we are very lucky with the style of business that we have.
I'm glad to hear that. It's that you have those loyal employees. It's hard. You're right. It's a tough economy right now with them, trying to find good employees and people that want to work. So I'm glad to hear that it's so successful for you. Do you have where are all your locations of where you sell your product from?
We are working with 2 local distributors that distributes Crescent Meats. I would say that we're probably in like 250 convenience stores around Wisconsin. Most of those distributors are just Wisconsin stores, a lot of convenience stores. We also have a website that sells some on a website. And we have a distributor on the West Coast that's out of Seattle, Washington. And they actually distribute again into Alaska.
Oh,
So we have Crescent
okay.
Meats products in Alaska,
In
believe it or
Alaska.
not. So that's exciting. We actually get emails of how they can get our product in Alaska because they purchased it there. So I didn't even know it was out there until we get emails from.
Wow, you didn't know how far your meat was traveling. Huh?
Yeah, for sure.
That's fantastic. So if I wanted to come and get some lean hamburger, can I stop in at Cadad and pick some up?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
We can cut steaks specifically the way people want them. If you walk in the door, don't see what you have fresh, we can custom cut different thicknesses. We can grind right away. A few minutes wait, you know, if you want something special. And then all of our sausage products. We also partnered last year with a local bison rancher just south of Cadott, the Bruhn family. They have been, I think 3 years, they've been raising bison. They were raising for other farmers that would maybe have a cow-calf herd and they wanted to finish the animals. So the Browns were finishing the animals for other companies that were buying the animals. And some of those agreements that sort of fell through the cracks, it was very frustrating to him that it was out of his control.
Sure.
So I got to know Chris very well, became friends, and we actually invested in starting another brand with the Bruhn family, Icon Meats. And they are now doing their own bison meat and buying from other local bison ranchers also to help them, small ones. And they sell our elk and venison also on the website. And we're working with some very large brokers right now. So we're really focusing on growing the Icon brand in the exotic species.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, it sounds like you really have a plan. It's really going quite well, even though it's maybe small steps. It just sounds like it's doing really well. What about, tell me, what would be my advantage in purchasing meat from you versus a big chain store like Walmart, for instance? What's my advantage of doing that?
Well, the first advantage is the feeling that you're helping the smaller local farmers. A lot of your big feedlot companies are now owned by mega meat plants. They are actually their own, the farm, they own the farm and the meat sales itself, where it mainly their own money, they're dealing with their own company, where we're helping many small farms survive. And a lot of the money is put right back into our community. We do animals from South Dakota and all that, but they're all still small farmers. I mean, we're a very small company. When we harvest 2,000 animals a year, these big mega companies that have these feedlots and big pig barns, they're doing millions of animals a year, millions. And we're helping the small guy. And they put money back in. Every one of these farmers that we process for, as soon as they get money, they spend their money. They get a new tractor, they get something for farming, and they're spending it back in the local community. And Crescent Meats does as well. You know, we've grown and we put money back. We hire all local people to work in our buildings and all of our employees. If we put this other addition on, we're probably gonna have to double our force, our employees. And that all those families spend their money locally.
Sure. Would you say the quality of the product is definitely higher than
most definitely? Yes, most definitely. We don't add the extra items that bigger companies would add just to create a better profit. Not that they make bad product. It's just that it's leaner, less water added, less additives added to support that. And we don't mix a bunch of different species. You know, you can go buy these cheap hot dogs that may have chicken products in there. It could just be chicken broth or something like that that's added to, it makes a great texture of a hot dog, but it also makes it high profitability. And we don't have the access to the types of things that the big companies have, that they're adding just extra fat that's very profitable for them.
Sure. So would you say, because of the size of your company, that this recent hacking from Russia into the meat plant, has that had any impact on your business? Or is it mainly, do you think it just impacted the larger production facilities?
We have been noticing more phone calls again, just like we did last summer. When the shelves were empty, the people were definitely buying local and filling their freezers. I don't know if I would call it hoarding, but I think they were scared that they wouldn't be able to get their food. So they bought larger purchases. We've noticed that a little bit since this has happened, but not nearly as much as last year. And I don't think the companies really had to shut down as long as they did last summer.
Oh, sure.
So I think that was helpful, that it didn't put the fear in the customer that, hey, the shelves are all empty.
Sure. So you're not at risk. Your business is not at risk from something like this happening to you. No. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. It's good to know. Now I know where to come.
Yeah, we're not, the reason it affected, I think, those companies so much is everything is computerized. Even the weights of the labels that are going on the boxes, it's all done by computer. And automatic scale systems that weighs the entire box. I mean, it's all wholesale style production where we bring a live animal in and turn it into what you would take home. And we don't need computers to do that.
Well, that's probably a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your award-winning products.
Okay, well, I think 2006 or 2007 was the first time that I ever tried to get into a competition. I became a member of Wisconsin Association of Meat Processors. I think it was 2006 when I joined, and I'm now a board member of that. Actually, my term is would have been up last year, but because of the pandemic, I had to serve another year, and I'm no longer allowed until I'm off the board a couple of years to go back on. I've been on there for so long, but enjoy helping and being involved. That I know most all the small meat plant owners that are involved in WOMP, because we're all like family. We help each other out, and that's what we're just so lucky to be in Wisconsin. It's such a powerful state for small meat processing, and they all are adding to the ability for Wisconsin to stay strong. We just got a new meat science lab in Eau Claire, not Eau Claire, Madison, UW-Madison, that is the highest tech in the world, so to speak. That's things that they have in that building, and that got delayed because of the pandemic, and they opened a year later. So they're now open, but the university has been on lockdown, and they're just now getting to where we're actually going to be able to have some classes at our yearly convention in the new building for the first time. So that's very exciting stuff. I sort of lost the train of thought there.
Okay.
Where that.
We're talking about your award-winning products.
So when I got involved with WOMP, that's what sort of intrigued the contest. And we are a competitive state. we have the largest convention in a year in the country with meat products. I think there's usually about 400 products in the show in 36 different categories every year. And it's quite an accomplishment to get an award from there. And we're blessed. We've won, I think, since 2007, 68 or 70 awards.
Oh my
And some of those are national awards with AMP, which is American Association of Meat Processors. And we also belong into some of the, like Deer and Elk Farmer Association, and I've done a little bit of competition in some of those categories as well. So the snack sticks and the summer sausage is a very competitive like classification. So if you win in those, you have something to be proud of because it's very competitive. Typically 70 or 80 different summer sausage being judged, and all the judges are typically like professors from food science professors and stuff. So Wisconsin brings in very knowledgeable people. They judge on aroma and texture and fat quality and flavor, and many different things besides just how it eats.
Sure. Well, great. Well, congratulations on all those awards. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I'd really like to thank you for your time, and your conversation today is extremely interesting, because I don't get to talk about meat packing very often, but it's very interesting to learn more about other people's businesses. And so Danielle, could we open up our question and answer session and see if there's some questions out there for Wayne?
So far, we do not have any questions, but we would like to welcome anyone who has a question to enter their question into the chat on Zoom or the comments on Facebook Live.
And while you're doing that, I just would like to mention to all of our viewers out there, we want to thank our sponsors, St. Joseph's Hospital Advisory Board or Northwest Trucking, for helping sponsor today's program with Wayne. And I would also like to mention that we are going to have in person our annual meeting this year, which I am very excited about because, you know, we weren't able to do that last year. So please mark your calendars down for August 27th. The meeting will be from 11:45 until 1:45, and it's going to be held at the Northern Wisconsin State Fairgrounds this year. So again, that's August 27th from 11:45 to 1:45. We are also looking for sponsorships for our annual meeting. So if you're interested in sponsoring our annual meeting, please call the CCEDC office at 715-723-7150, or feel free to email us at staff, STAFF, at Chippewa, CHIPPEWA-WI.com. If you would like to consider a sponsorship. And I want to thank you for that consideration. And we really hope that you will all be there at our annual meeting. So how are we doing with those questions, Danielle?
We don't have any questions.
We don't have any questions. Okay, well, see, Wayne was so thorough today that we were able to answer everything that people needed to know. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and have a great day.
Thank you.